Christopher Columbus deceived both the Queen of Spain and his own crew. He was not as great a sailor or navigator as he claimed to be. He only knew how to use some instruments, had worked on a few ships, and read some books about sailing. In truth, Columbus was an average sailor. This ordinary captain was heading toward an unknown destination. As days passed, his crew began to lose faith in him. Tension rose among the sailors, and soon they started turning against him. Until one day, the crew secretly planned to kill Christopher Columbus. Why did they want to kill their captain? How did Columbus escape death? And how did his fleet finally discover the shores of the New World? Welcome to Timeline Stories, where history comes alive like never before. In today's episode, we'll uncover the untold truth behind Christopher Columbus, the man who deceived his queen, defied the ocean, and accidentally changed the world forever. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to Timeline Stories and turn on the bell icon so you never miss the hidden chapters of our world's history. Every week we bring you stories that changed time itself, and today's journey will take you across the stormy seas of the 15th century. Let's begin. Before the voyage, the government of Spain made several promises to Columbus. One of them was that he would be included among the Spanish nobles, the country's elite class. He would be given the title caballero, meaning gentleman. This title also allowed its holders and their descendants to use the word Don before their names, the same Don meaning master. The second promise was even greater. Columbus would become the great admiral of the ocean sea, having equal rank and privileges as the admirals of Castile. He was also promised that 1/10 of all precious stones and treasures found in the new lands would belong to him, and 1/8 of the cargo space on future trade ships would always be reserved for his goods. The Spanish government also made a promise to the ship's crew. Whoever first spotted the land of Asia would receive a lifetime stipend of 10,000 maravids per year. In today's value, this would be about $1,500 a year. But all these promises were about the future. At that time, the Queen of Spain was not very generous toward Columbus. As we discussed in the previous episode, Europe was in terrible condition, full of poverty and political tension. So the Queen only gave Columbus 2 ships for his important mission. And even those ships didn't come from the royal treasury. They were taken from the people living in the area where Columbus was supposed to begin his journey. The Queen ordered them, saying, "You have shown disobedience and neglect in serving our crown. As punishment, you will provide 2 ships for 1 year at your own cost." So Columbus found 2 suitable ships, but he was not provided with much food, water, or weapons. Only 89 men were assigned to both ships combined. They had just a few cannons, guns, and limited supplies. Columbus made his own efforts to strengthen the fleet. He borrowed a 3rd ship, the Santa Maria, which was his own. Now he had 3 ships, each carrying a large red cross painted on its sails. On August 3rd, 1492, Columbus began his historic voyage. He was seen off by the Queen and King of Spain, under the sound of church bells and the sign of the cross. He first sailed through the Canary Islands off the coast of Africa. From there, he aimed to reach Asia, mainly Japan, believing the distance was around 4,500 kilometers. The Canary Islands had strong westward winds, which made sailing toward the west much easier. That is why Columbus started his journey from there. When he left on August 3rd, he faced an endless sea with 3 small ships floating on it. No one knew when or if they would see land again. For the first few days, everything went smoothly. The wind was favorable, and the crew was calm and cheerful. The ships sailed easily. Every morning, Columbus had breakfast in his cabin, then came out to look at the sky and pray for good weather. After giving instructions to his men, he would return to his cabin to rest or study. As per tradition, the positions of the sun, moon, and stars guided the sailors on their way. Columbus was not an expert at navigation, but he pretended to be one. He used a semicircular triangle-like instrument with a hanging plumb line to check the positions of celestial bodies and estimate the direction of travel. Based on their estimates, they should have reached land within 10 to 15 days, but even after 20 days there was no land in sight. No birds, no floating plants, nothing but water. The crew began to lose patience. Whispers spread that this Italian man had brought them here only to die, just so he could become rich and famous as a Don. They feared that when their food and water ran out, they would die in the middle of the ocean. After a few more days of hopeless sailing, the sailors became sure that death was near. They thought, if we continue following this crazy man, we'll all starve, and our bodies will be eaten by fish. They demanded Columbus to turn back, but he refused. So, in secret, some of the men began plotting to kill him. The crew believed Columbus did not care for them because he was not Spanish. He was from Italy, while most of the sailors were Spaniards. So a sense of nationalism and resentment also grew. Throwing an Italian into the sea, they thought, will not harm Spaniards. We'll just say it was an accident. Now the situation was getting dangerous for Columbus. Whatever orders he gave, the crew often did the opposite, mocking or threatening him. He tried to win them back with promises of gold and reward, but they were too desperate to care. They no longer feared punishment, only death. Soon, they began imagining things. Like thirsty travelers in a desert seeing mirages of water, these men began seeing illusions of land. Someone would shout, "Land ahead," but when the ships changed direction and sailed that way, there was nothing but endless blue water. Up, down, right, left, everywhere. Only water and sky. Amid this fear and hopelessness, one sailor suddenly heard the sound of birds. He screamed in excitement, and everyone looked up to see flocks of birds flying above. It was October 7th evening. These birds were migrating from North America to the West Indies for winter. To the desperate sailors, it felt like a miracle. Columbus immediately ordered the ships to follow the birds, believing they would lead to land. The men cheered, full of hope again. But 2 days passed, still no land. The birds' cries grew louder, then faded again with the passing days. Once again, doubt returned. They surrounded Columbus, threatening to kill him if he did not turn the ships around. For 5 weeks, Columbus had somehow kept them calm through lies, hopes, and fake promises. But now, he had no idea left. So, as a final attempt, he begged the crew to give him 3 more days. If no land appeared, he would turn back. Those last 3 days were filled with fear. Columbus pushed the ships at full speed, risking everything. He didn't care if they crashed into rocks or storms. He stayed awake, pacing on deck, staring into the dark distance, hoping to see land. Then, on the night between October 11th and 12th, around 10 p.m., Columbus saw a faint light on the horizon. There were no electric lights back then, so what was it? He called his men to see, but they couldn't spot anything. Some said he was imagining it. Still, 4 hours later, a sailor on the ship, Pinta, spotted a shining sand dune under the moonlight. He cried out loudly, "Terra! Terra! Terra!" meaning land. Land! Land! The captain of the Pinta fired a small cannon shot, informing the other ships that land had been sighted. After 36 long days, Columbus's fleet had finally reached the shores of the New World. When dawn broke, the 3 ships slowly sailed toward the newly found shore. The land looked peaceful, covered in green trees, white beaches, and a cool morning mist. For the men who had only seen water for more than a month, this sight was like heaven. Soon, small groups of people appeared on the beach. They were the natives of this new land. Their skin was brown, their faces painted with bright colors, and they wore ornaments made of bones, shells, and feathers. When they saw the ships, they ran away in fear, thinking these floating wooden monsters had come from the sky. The sailors laughed and cheered. Columbus, dressed in his finest clothes, held a royal flag of Spain in one hand and a sword in the other. He stepped onto the sand, knelt down, kissed the ground, and said in Spanish, "Thank you, God. You have shown me the way to the Indies." Columbus named the island San Salvador, which means Holy Savior. He believed he had reached one of the islands near Asia, possibly Japan or China, but in truth, he had reached Bahamas, a part of the American continent. The islanders stood far away, watching the strange men. Columbus waved to them, smiled, and offered red hats, glass beads, and small mirrors to win their trust. The natives were amazed by these colorful objects, things they had never seen before. They thought the strangers were divine beings sent from the sky. In their language, they called them heavenly men. And because they were kind and welcoming, Columbus believed these people would be easy to convert to Christianity. He wrote in his diary that night, "They are generous and friendly people. They do not carry any weapons and are very innocent. They would make fine servants and could easily become Christians." Within a few days, Columbus and his men explored the nearby islands. They saw gold ornaments on the natives and immediately asked where the gold came from. The islanders pointed toward the southwest, saying the real land of gold was there. This direction later led Europeans toward Cuba and Hispaniola, modern-day Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Columbus continued sailing, believing he was moving closer to the coast of Asia. He thought Hispaniola was near India. The island was large, beautiful, and full of trees and rivers. The natives were polite and ready to help, bringing fruits, fish, and fresh water for the sailors. Columbus, seeing their kindness, said proudly, "These people love us as if we were their own brothers. If I only had a few priests here, they would all become Christians." He built a small fort on the island from the remains of his ship Santa Maria, which had been destroyed after hitting a reef. He left 39 of his men there to start a new colony and named the fort La Navidad, meaning the Christmas fort. With the remaining 2 ships, Columbus decided to return to Spain. He carried some gold, fruits, birds, and several native people to present before the Spanish Queen. On March 15, 1493, Columbus reached the Spanish port of Palos again. When the people saw the ships returning safely, they rang church bells and celebrated all night. Columbus was treated as a hero. The Queen of Spain welcomed him in her palace. He showed her the natives, gold pieces, and bright feathers, saying, "Your Majesty, I have reached the Indies." The Queen smiled and ordered celebrations across the country. The church blessed Columbus, and the Pope himself announced that the newly discovered lands would belong to Spain. Soon, other European nations, Portugal, England, France, and the Netherlands, realized that Columbus had not found Asia, but an entirely new continent. This discovery changed world history forever. Spain became one of the richest and most powerful empires in the world, and the native people of America, who had lived peacefully for thousands of years, slowly lost their land, their freedom, and their lives. Christopher Columbus made 4 voyages in total. He never accepted that he had discovered a new continent. Until his death in 1506, he firmly believed he had only reached the eastern islands of Asia. However, his discovery opened the path for the European conquest of the Americas, a story that would soon bring wealth to some and tragedy to millions. In the next episode, we'll explore how Spain built its colonies in the New World and how the story of America's dark past truly began. If you haven't watched the first episode of History of America, make sure to check it out now, where we uncovered the fall of Europe and the rise of a daring dreamer named Christopher Columbus. That's where this journey truly began. Click on the link and start the story from its very beginning. Only on Timeline Stories.